Adrien the Problem Broner. Now, the problem the problem is what the problem is that he didn't get the Manny Pacquiao fight, and that would have been a very good fight. Broner would have stood his ground. He would have gave Manny Pacquiao a run for his money, especially Manny Pacquiao. Let's say all things being equal, it was coming off a shoulder injury and a year off delay since the Mayweather fight. Broner would have presented a lot of problems, height advantage, power, aggression, and just size, long reach, etc. over Manny Pacquiao. It would have been a very interesting fight. Broner does have a problem beating fighters that come at him and throw a lot of punches. Broner does have a tendency to shell up and not throw punches and exchange with him, right? Sean Porter, he did this with Paulie Malignaggi, he did this with Marcos Maidana. But in all those fights, Adrien Broner is showing himself, more importantly, and he's showing the world that he can compete amongst the elites. He can move up and jump a whole weight class and contend against Marcos Maidana. In fact, that fight was very competitive, very entertaining, and a lot of people wanted Adrien Broner to lose. I wanted to see a good fight, and in a good fight I got in return. It was a very good anticipated match. It's funny because before that fight even took place, a lot of people were already saying, "Oh yeah, Marcos Maidana ain't shit. Broner's gonna beat him. Why are they putting him up against this bum?" And next thing you know, all the fans change their attitude and they find out that Marcos Maidana is no bum, right? It's like Amir Imam fighting Granados. Next thing you know, Amir Imam is a bum, and now Granados is some fighter top shit. Same thing with that guy that just fought Robert Guerrero and then he just beat Devin Alexander. It's the same thing. These guys are called bums, and then they flip the table, and then they're no longer bums. Another fighter that is on the bum list is the one that just fought Nonito Donaire, right? And on the undercard of the Felix Verdejo fight. And then all of a sudden, the guy gives Nonito a very tough fight, and then now Nonito Donaire is a bum. So it's just very frustrating hearing about this bum or exposed talk in the sport of boxing. Now back on Adrien Broner. This dude has 31 wins and 2 losses in his fight, and he's going to fight Ashley Theophane, a TMT fighter. And it's going to be a very competitive fight because Theophane may not be the best boxer, might not have the fastest hands, may not have the best footwork, but he's got a little bit of everything, and he's an adequate boxer. He's not exceptional, like in the sense of a Floyd Mayweather on the level of Adrien Broner, but if you take him lightly, like Mauricio Herrero, these guys know how to maintain and just are pesky. They just keep throwing punches and keep coming at you, and then by the time if you're taking these guys lightly, you might find yourself trailing in the cards. Now, Adrien Broner, I know he likes to live that flashy lifestyle and be throwing money and being a funny guy with dances and being a very an entertainer, and he's about that life and about billions. But Adrien Broner, don't get mistaken, this dude is busting his ass hard in the gym. He sells the illusion that he's living this grandeur life, and he probably is, having women all over the place and whatnot. But this dude is busting his ass in the gym. He's always in shape. When has he ever not been in shape? When has he ever been fatigued or not gone the distance? Even when he was getting his ass kicked by Marcos Maidana, he still went the distance. So even though you may not like his personality or you think he's an imposter and emulating Floyd Mayweather's style and you probably want him to be his own guy, there's nothing wrong with that. But Broner is who he is, and if he idolizes Floyd Mayweather, and that's his achievement, like at his highest point, with possibly the most that Adrien Broner can achieve is possibly being the second coming of a Floyd Mayweather. Not in the sense of his attitude, but maybe being as great as Floyd was in the ring, and Broner can possibly show those things. He'd obviously need to work on his reflexes, the shoulder roll, knowing when just not to shoulder off of it, but knowing when to counter off of it, when to place that shoulder roll and the ropes, etc. And he needs to be a little heavier lighter on his feet. But he's got very good footwork. He's shown it time and time and again. Now let's break down Adrien Broner's resume. This dude fights nothing but winners. Now maybe you don't know him, or maybe you want him to keep fighting, let's say, another Maidana, an Errol Spence, just Terrence Crawford, Victor Postol, Lucas Matisse, Jose Benavidez. You want him to keep going against all these top 5 fighters, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you look at Broner's resume, he's fought a lot of good fighters that many at the same time we don't pay homage to. For example, Khabib Alekbardiv. He was 19-1. I think his only loss was a controversial loss to Jesse Vargas. Aside from that, he fought Sean Porter after that, right? So he just got off a fight with Sean Porter, who he asked for a catch weight, and Porter took it. He took it because he was hoping to give bigger and better things by compromising and meaning to I guess, diva demands from Broner. Then he fought John Molina, who had just given Lucas Matisse a run for his money. Who John Molina was coming off a loss, maybe, or maybe even a win, but he had lost to Humberto Soto after the Matisse fight. And then John Molina made a diss record, dissing Adrien Broner, calling him soft, this and that. And next thing you know, Molina looked like a shitty ass fighter. He looked like a bum. Not in the sense he still won the distance, but he couldn't even touch Broner because Broner was just fast, just tagging this dude, right? Then after that, he fought Emmanuel Taylor, who had given Chris Algieri a pretty good fight, but Chris Algieri, like Broner, just smashed on Taylor and threw nice uppercuts to knock him down. Then he fought Mexican Carlos Molina, and before that, Marcos Maidana. So Adrien Broner, as we know, some people call it a paper champ, but he's a 4-time division fighter, winner, and this dude knows how to win. His only 2 losses have been to Sean Porter and Marcos Maidana, and in those two fights, he's been very competitive. And I think what's interesting about Adrien Broner, right, is that every time he's in the ring, he's as young as Canelo, right? But though he talks a big game, he certainly does back it up. Now, again, going back on his 2 losses, Marcos Maidana and Sean Porter, those guys are tough fighters. Sean Porter is explosive as they come, very tough. He's like above 160, who loses like 15 pounds to make 147, and this dude made the catch weight. First of all, that's impressive, right? Credit to Sean Porter. But he was outworking Broner. And what did Broner do? Withstood the pressure. And in the 12th round, did a check left hook and knocked Porter down on his ass. A little too late for Broner letting his hands go. And I think Broner should be avenging those 2 losses, right? He should also be calling out Sean Porter to get the rematch, and should be also calling out Marcos Maidana. Now, of course, we know Maidana is bloated over 200 pounds, and he's thinking about retirement. As far as we know, he is retired. But Broner, even in the Marcos Maidana fight, when he got dropped 2 times, right, he was a little disrespectful in the sense that he was dry humping a man in the first round, and then he got his ass dropped in the second. But Broner, look, since Floyd Mayweather is gone, boxing is open for a takeover. Who is going to be the rising star? And Broner, even though we've seen a lot of him, he gets a lot of exposure. He can take basically over 140 or 147. His talent is there. His power is there, right? Kell Brook couldn't even knock down Sean Porter. So Broner's doing something right. You understand? Broner can do a lot of things in the welterweight or 140 division. This dude is technically sound. He's tough. He just has to make sure he prioritizes what's more important to him, whether it's making rap videos or going to the club or busting his ass off, and understand what got him to those levels of entertainment and the luxuries of life, and that's through boxing. This dude, when he was beating Eloy Perez, moving up, beating Antonio DeMarco, who just gave Omar Figueroa the toughest of his fight, right? Broner, in other words, can fight all those dudes, Figueroa, Ricky Burns, Crawford, and probably beat them all. This is how highly I think of Adrien Broner. This dude is very good. He's fast, he's strong, he's athletic, he's got a good chin. You need Marcos Maidana, pressure, resiliency, low blows, headbutts, just to put the fear in Broner. Broner, the more he's in the ring and fighting tough competitors, he rises to the level of expectation between those fighters. He plays to the fighter's strength. If it's like this, if Broner's up with her and against a good fighter, Broner's going to look like a good fighter. If he's up with her with a great fighter, he's going to test himself, and we're going to see the greatness of Broner. If he's up with there with a mediocre fighter, well, Broner's going to play to his opponent and look mediocre. Because sometimes he'll be a little complacent, right? But if we break down Broner, tit for tat, this dude, not only is he an entertainer, but he's a fucking great boxer. And he's a great hitter. And I would say this, even though I know he tries to emulate Floyd Mayweather, Broner should think about being more offensive-minded, which makes me say this. He should possibly switch to a different trainer. Not saying, look, loyalty is loyalty, right? Family is family. But in terms of getting over the hump and becoming great, sometimes, like Timothy Bradley, you have to make changes to your team, to your staff, even with the people that brought you up, right? Timothy Bradley understood this. Other fighters understand this. Broner, you know what I'm saying, can do a lot of great things, maybe, possibly, if he switches trainer. Now, he put that little media out there that he wanted to train under Freddie Roach. And I'm pretty sure he was just having fun, and this was at the time where there was a controversy, him and the money team, and they were going back and forth. But if Broner actually thought about going to Freddie Roach, I think that would probably be one of the best things that he can possibly do in terms of his professional in terms of professional boxing and for his career. It'll be the best move that Broner can possibly do in terms of not only avenging his losses, making more money, and being about billions and about that life, but actually kicking fighters' ass and trying to reach the apex of his career and his skills and his skill sets. If Broner were to make the change to Freddie Roach, I think Freddie Roach may just be able to bring the best out of Adrien Broner, and Broner can take over boxing. But hey, we'll see what happens. Adrien Broner, the problem, he's a good fighter.
I'm thinking about switching trainers, man. This is my man right here, man.